good, everybody? I'm almost ready. Give me like 2 more minutes. I'm gonna use the restroom, get some water, and then I'll be ready. At some point, I'm going to have to switch out my laundry, but that's not for a little while. What's good, everybody? My name is Alckemy. Welcome to the channel. If you are watching this live, I appreciate you being here. If you're not watching this live, I don't know how you are because I have all my videos unlisted for the live streams. Yeah, hopefully you guys are doing well. Would love to know what's going on. Today I'm going to be focused on making some new assets for just sound design and music and stuff, and I'm going to think about the next track that I want to build. I will not be starting a new track today, most likely, and today is going to be a shorter broadcast than usual just because I have to teach class in 3 hours. So yeah, but if at any point anybody has any questions or anything, I'm happy to divert my attention to what's going on. And yeah, I'm kind of just here for you all. I'm really trying to make that push for 5K subs, and would really or always appreciate if somebody is enjoying the content enough to drop a follow. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. I need to switch over to the live scene. Oh look, there's my desktop. All right, so we pretty much have nothing. And I guess I kind of want to think about what I want to do for Sound Dizzle. I think that like I really want to... I have no idea what I want to do other than make sounds. I'm trying to like think of something or think of a concept or just think of some kind of idea based off of either a setting or a picture or whatever. You know what? I actually do want to try. Let me see. I have a rhythm in mind. I really want to try to... I've been unsuccessful at this every time, but I really want to try to get back to doing kind of like or experiment with doing some kind of like trip hop feel of just like... And I think that would be a really fun rhythm to try to break into the glitch world, and that could be interesting to do. So let's go ahead and start with addictive drums. Addictive drums. I used to use Superior Drummer a lot, but I find that like addictive drums in general is just so much easier. It's just so much better. All right, assuming that this is going to pull up. Hi. I wanted to see something. Can I do a preview with this? Wow. That's pretty awesome. Okay. Hopefully nobody from XLN Audio is looking at this, but or hopefully they don't care. But what I can basically do is I can play this. Oh, perfect. Okay. Check this out. Okay, so I don't think that tempo is in time by any means, but that's okay because I do like the way that those drums sound. PogChamp. So that also means I don't have to do a lot of editing to this, but alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this over here and pull this out, kind of like that. And just stretch this out to where it needs to be. So let me see, what was this recorded at? Or I guess really what we can do is just try to push this out to a certain degree. Kind of like that. Oh, and instead I'm going to move this over like this. And I don't really care. Wait, what just happened? I don't really care whether or not it's like perfectly on time. I just kind of want it to be some kind of 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Okay, almost. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, obviously we need to stretch that out a bit more, so let's see what we get with this. Almost. A little bit more. Hold on, before I do this, let me come back and let me pull this transient on the 1. That's not what I meant to do. Onsets. There we go. And let's create one. Right there. There we go. And right click. Can I set 1 from here? I don't really do much audio warping like this anymore, but I guess it's nice to put some practice into this. Okay, now hopefully from here we can stretch this out a little bit more. So like there. And then I can move that onset back over. Undo. There we go. Yeah. Check it. Hello from Russia. Thank you for your content. I've learned a lot from it. Yo, thanks so much, Julia. I really appreciate it. Hey, Hey, Happy Duck. How old am I? Fucking ancient. I'm so old. Um, yeah, I'm old as hell. I'm 29 next month. Oh, I might use a frequency shifter instead. I'm still kind of stuttering. Okay, so let's... What is this hitting at? This is at C sharp. Okay, dogs. Okay. Why don't you chill out there? There we go. Then let's do another one. Let me listen here. Some nice drums. Why is that snare so much louder than... Okay, I'm doing this a little bit out of order, but that's okay. Can I buy your computer? No. How else am I gonna make YouTube content? Unless if you want me to quit my YouTube channel. Want me to quit making music. Okay, so now let's grab a G clip. Okay, so now I kind of want to go back in here. What's this hitting at? So this is at G3, so I'm gonna grab this and just kind of pull this back just a little bit and make this dynamic. Okay, that sounds pretty good. I want this to be a little bit louder though. So we can use this as a framework later down the line. Actually, let me listen to this again. Yeah, that might not sound so bad with some room, but hi Duck, way cool. Wait, are you secretly Happy Duck? Are you guys the same people? Alright, so let's go here. Is my mic working? I think it, yeah, it's working. Okay. I was like, what is going on? Okay, so we'll call this like old drum break or whatever, and we can kind of use this maybe as a layer at some other point. Now let's dive into some faceplant stuff. Same dude. Okay. I was like, looks fishy, or it looks awfully quacky, pun intended. All right. So let's go ahead and grab this, and then let's grab a wavetable, and let's find a cool thing. Dude acquire. That's funny. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This looks kind of nice. Maybe we can try the flanger saw. Sick. Any tips for mixing guitar? What kind of guitar? It does matter to some degree. Okay, let's grab that, throw that there. Okay, let's try a little bit of distortion on this. So electric guitar connected to the computer and ran through an amp simp. So something like guitar rig, I guess. I guess like when you have something that's guitar related, you want to be mindful of, there's a couple things. Like if the signal is in mono, then for the most part, like I guess that would be the next question is what are you, like what genre or what kind of song are you mixing? Mostly bass heavy music. Okay, sorry. It's important. I talked about. I just uploaded a. Well, yeah, actually, you saw it. So, for the most part, like heavy guitar is going to take the same frequency space as something as a bass, like that's getting kind of heavy in this means, right? And so, really, what you want to do is, like, one suggestion that I have is to not play them at the same time. So I wouldn't try to play like a guitar and then like try to have like a bass like playing on the same frequency field, because you kind of want both of those to be present, or at least that's the way that I understand it. So one option that you can do is to have them take turns speaking, and that's not even necessarily a mix thing. That's a phrasing thing, I'd say, or a compositional direction. But the other thing that you can do is if you want to EQ and you want to make it really wide, then like, let me see if I actually have a guitar sample. I would just record some stuff, but I can't set up input recording to Bitwig while I'm on stream. Okay, so let's just pretend like, you know, you've got something like this that you want to be like really that you're playing or whatever. Right. So one thing that you can look at is doing something called mid-side EQ. And what you would do, if I turn saturation to 100% to make it loud, is that okay? It depends on, just because the saturation is at 100%, it's still going to depend on how much you're driving it, if that makes sense. You can add saturation to it, but like, it depends. So on one end, if you want your guitar to have like its own space, then I would look at panning. If you have something that makes it really wide like reverb, then what you can do is a mid-side EQ to where you take a middle signal like this and you take this all away. And then with a side EQ, you grab another one like this and you pull just enough to here and then maybe enough to here as well, kind of like this. So what you're going to get is a clean middle where nothing in the guitar is playing, and then on the sides you're going to have a nice like full spectrum guitar. So there's this versus. And I don't know if you can tell or not, but with the EQ after the reverb, the sides are playing the guitar to make it seem like it's really wide. And then the middle is pretty much open, so that way your drums can cut through, and that way like any other elements that you have are going to have pretty much space to kind of punch through your mix. But the other thing that you can do too, like if you really want to make this wide, is to take like a couple of these and kind of like this, and then, you know, do that whole panning thing where you've got one to the left and one to the right. But I really don't think that you want to make your guitar that present, but that is an option that you can do if you want everything to sound like really, really full, if that makes sense. But yeah, hopefully that's helpful to you. Again, it's kind of hard without context of what you're trying to do, but those are some basic ideas. Is it? No, not necessarily. It depends. I don't use isotope for mixing. If I'm going to use isotope, I would do it for. I would typically reach for something from isotope for mastering because it's really heavy on CPU. Yeah, midside is kind of slept on, and I cover it briefly. No, not necessarily. You don't have to. No, you don't have to delay each one, but just by putting them out to the side, or just by doing that panning, you're still just going to naturally make it wider. But if you do a Haas effect, then like you would pretty much. Can I bring those back? If you were to do a Haas effect and like, let's say like an artificial one, then you would like do just an ever so slight delay like that. And now that makes that seem wider, but you wouldn't have to do panning for that. That would just be like an offset. Or I guess you could do panning for that, so you can do like a super left and super right. But I would just reach for a Haas effect if that's what you want to do. Oh, this one also has reverb on it, so we're cheating. 100% that way, 100% that way. You can do that, but I wouldn't recommend that. I would just use like reverb or chorus or something. Hold on, come in. Yo. I already fed them.
You did?
Yeah.
They threw up everywhere.
Just now?
Yeah, I think it was Remy. Because she's kind of like, yeah. But a storm's coming too, so.
Whoa, fuck. Really?
Yeah, I cleaned it up, but.
Oh, my bad.
Nah, it's not your bad. It's because she's eating the couch. Because it was foam.
Oh.
And dog food.
Oh.
So,
gross.
But I'm hopping in the shower.
Okay.
Good?
Yeah.
Alright.
Okay, so yeah, I wouldn't recommend. I usually don't reach for a Haas effect if I'm going to stereoize something. But if you have isotope imager or something too, and you have just a little bit of stereo effect, like a chorus or something, then you can start to push that up. But again, you just want to be mindful of like, you're kind of sitting, most of the time guitar is sitting like most prominent in the low mids, so that's kind of like in that gray area of where you want to be mindful of phase cancellation. But you can still get away with a little bit, depending on, again, it just depends on how it sounds. So let's do that, and let's do that. I don't know if FL has a built-in Haas effect. I'm not sure either, to be honest. Wow, that sounds dope. Okay, so I really like how that sounds, but I need to, great tips, thank you. Yeah, I talk about some of that stuff on that mixing video that I just put up, and I wouldn't say that that mixing video is like gospel by any means, but it might help you kind of like understand some ways to incorporate some other things. I didn't really talk about like specific instrumentation because again, it's all contextual, but maybe that can kind of point you in the right direction. This is pretty cool. Okay. It's kind of shrieky though. just a little shrieky. So let's start off by doing another notch. I think would be good for this. And we're going to try to pull this apart just a little bit more and get that interacting with each other. Let's go ahead and grab a limiter. And then we'll pull up multipass here and just go onto the low end and make sure that's there. That sounds so cool. Yeah, let's try some of this stuff. Maybe just a little bit here. Cool. Let's throw some dynamics on this on the other side, and we'll pull this up a little bit. Okay. Now let's try. What else do I want to do to this? Let's try a slice EQ. Where is that? Okay. And we're just going to pull up an easy peasy preset, which is a boost notch. And then I got to move this over here. But we'll open this and set that there. And now we can grab these other randomizers to pull the cutoff. We'll pull the cutoff here, kind of like that. We'll use this one to manipulate the gain. And then we'll use this one to manipulate the resonance of this. Kind of like that. There we go. And then finally, we will grab another one. Any way to make a bass sound more wet besides using a vocoder? Yeah, you can use a phaser or a chorus. I'll show you in just a second, okay? Because that's kind of where I'm heading, actually. There's some cool growls in there, or roars rather, is kind of what that sounds like to me. Okay, so what I would recommend depending on what you're working in, is taking, I'm just going to use a 2-band, take everything at like 140 and below, and grab a high pass filter, and then on this one you can kind of go crazy with other filters and such. I am going to use a band pass and a notch. Here we go. But yeah, if you use a chorus and or a phaser, then it will automatically stereoize the top end of what's going on here. So let me go like right here. And you don't really have to touch this. I'm going to manipulate this a bit, but what I would do is you can just play with the cutoff right here. So let me solo this. Playing with the cutoff in that way obviously gives you some really cool like stereo imaging and stuff. So now that that's kind of all set up, I'm kind of just going to start to pull some of these around a bit and see if I can get something interesting. Cool. Let's grab this, and we're going to do the same thing here. So we're going to pull this up a bit. I'm going to add quite a bit of resonance to this as well, because this is actually going to help boost some of that low end stuff. So, and then right here we're going to grab LFO2, set that to 1/4, set that to random, pull that there, and I kind of want this to sweep the low mids. There we go. And on this one, we are going to grab cutoff here. Just kind of let that do its own thing. And this one is going to play with opening and closing. And then I think what I'm also going to do is kind of just pull this back. So that way the sound is going to be opening and closing to pretty extensively. Oh, that's post. My bad. I was like, what is going on? Okay, some compression is going to help this out a bit. And then we can grab some reverb to make this a little bit thicker in some areas. So we'll go here, and then we can just use this and kind of pump this up a little bit. Am I automating the mix on this? Okay, I am. So yeah, we've got some cool timbres in here. Ouch. And I think that what I'm going to do is try to maybe boost the low end of this just a little bit more. And I might even add just a touch more of distortion to see if I can pull out a little bit more of the timbres of the massive amount of filtering that we're doing. Like, that's cool sound. Okay, so something else that might be cool is we can kind of play with some play with some other tonal things. So for example, if I wanted this to kind of like have other random instances of harmonics without distortion, then I can pick any one of these and pull this up kind of like this, and turn this all the way down, and then I can set this to be come on. And I can kind of set that to act as a chord of a 7th or a 5th or whatever. But maybe not so loud. Let's see how that sounds together. Okay, I'm going to grab another filter that's just going to be a regular notch, kind of like this. And I'm going to set this at like 200 hertz and grab a note. And I'm going to set the center to be F0. Then I'm going to grab the range and go to 24. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this up about that much. So that way, whenever this pitch bends, this is actually going to notch. But I'm going to set that a little bit lower. There we go. So now whenever I do a pitch bend, this is going to move up. Okay, and what I would like for this to do is I want this to I would like this to oscillate a little bit faster. So let me go back and fix this and see if I can get this to kind of how do I say, to kind of phase oscillate a little bit quicker. Because that's kind of so what I can do is instead maybe pull this back to like one voice, or maybe I'll go here and then instead turn this off and see what that sounds like. Okay, maybe I can accentuate this by throwing this in mono. So let's see what happens when I do that. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to drag this over here to right there. And then hopefully that will push this through all this other processing. Hopefully that will become more apparent when I kind of go back and play this on its own. Cool. Okay, I think that this sounds the coolest with the saw for now. I think that there's some cool stuff with the sine wave too, but we can always bounce that out later. So let's move some of this stuff over here. There we go. Let's try seeing what happens if I pull the mix down on this a little bit. Pretty cool. Okay, so now we can get into some post-processing on this, and for now, actually before I do that, I'm going to set up, love the streams, keep it up, man, guys. Kind of the tutorials are so in-depth, I feel like I always learn something new. Cool, man. Yeah, and I appreciate the questions too. They help me figure out where you guys are and what can be, you know, and what I can do in the future to kind of like educate, if that makes sense. Blade Runner vibes on this one. I still want to like, I do like how there's this kind of like almost like buzzing, really hard cutting through this, but I still want it to be a little bit darker. So if this can kind of just appear and pop out just a little bit from filter opening, then I think that I'm going to be closer to where I want to be. And maybe what I can even do is play with another filter like this and see what that sounds like. Okay, cool. So now what we can do is set up some pitch shifters. Oh, that's something else I can do. Okay, I'll do that in a second, but we'll do this later. But what I'm going to do is set up a couple of these like this, and then start to place these kind of here. Yo, what's good, man? How are you? So we'll do one that's kind of like -12, and then we'll do another one with some other randomizer that's kind of like -19, and then I want to set this to off, low, and then set the same thing to off, high, and then we're going to set up some delays. You can borrow from this stuff over here. And then with this one, we will pull the mix back and then just kind of turn the feedback up ever so slightly on this one. Just because if you push the feedback too hard on this, then you get this really annoying like buzzing sound, and we don't want that. How's the tricking going, by the way? It's okay. I got hurt last week. I'm always hurt now. And God dang it. And it's just kind of one of those, you know, one of those battles that you just got to keep fighting. Yeah, I plan to return. Actually, I have class for JKD in a couple hours, so it's good to return to that. But yeah, man, I'm just trying to like figure out ways to get my knee stronger so I can hopefully figure out how to do this dumb trick before I retire. I don't know if I'm going to ever be healthy enough to go back to Cirque du Soleil. And I don't even know if Cirque du Soleil is even going to be a thing anymore. I'm sure that other shows will open up, but it's just kind of all up in the air, and really I'm just kind of trying to keep my head above water, if that makes sense. Okay, so we figured out how to turn this into some crazy shit. Let's go ahead and grab a frequency shifter now, and we're just going to place this like I think I want to hold shift and just like maybe 1 point. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, we want another delay on here. And we're going to set this one to be pretty short. And we will dictate the time kind of to be all over the place on this one. And then kind of similar setup of pushing this up and down here. And with this one, been trying to swing a cork for like 5 weeks now. Yo, okay, so the key to swinging corks is putting more flip into your cork. So do you twist to your left? All right, so when you're taking off, I use what's called a pivot or a Euro step. And so you're stepping in with your left leg, and then you're getting ready to step into your eagle position. And as you start to lift and everything comes up, you want to think about creating a diagonal and putting like your swing foot up at a point in the air. And once that happens, you're going to bump your hip up and try to rotate from pulling your left hip over your right instead of just flipping. And if you do that, then that's going to give you this like off axis of like a 45, and that's going to set you up for swings. But really, like the hardest discipline that you have to do is really like focus on like just pushing your hip hard as hell, and then parachuting out of it by basically doing a raise out of it, or rise, or whatever you want to call it. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set a macro on all of these to rotate in between the smooth. So if we go here, I got the height, no, I just can't keep my chest high when you land. Yeah, so what you would do is as you're coming down for your flip, you're going to open up your right chest and think about pulling and think about elbowing the sky, so that way you parachute out. And what's going to happen is like the aerodynamics of it is it's going to make your chest catch. And that's going to naturally pull your chest up. But one of the biggest things that I can give you right now whenever you're doing flips is when you're trying to go for swings, you can look down at the floor, but more importantly, like if you can, you want to look forward, or you want to focus on picking your chest or your head back up. Because if you land in a hunch position with your shoulders forward, then you're going to have to muscle the swing. And so the idea of doing like swing chains is to reset your body posture almost as if you were doing your first takeoff, right? And so like that's one of the best habits that you can build, and you can train that on tramp. Okay. So one other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take another randomizer like this. I'm going to push this up to like 40. It's like 48. And then I'm going to grab this macro again and pull the chaos down. So that way, oh no, I wanted that to be opposite. There we go. So now, whenever this pulls, this turned into something super cool. Okay, so one more thing that we can do with this is I wonder if I can actually, Cancel. Can I do this where I go here and I pull? Man, if I had the ability to automate things to be on and off, like that would be pretty awesome. Cool glitchy patch. Thank you, thank you. But since I don't, we can turn all this off, and then we can kind of just switch back and forth between like a neuro bass. Yo.
I'm out.
You out?
Yeah, let's cook some food later.
Okay.
You down?
Yeah. Well, tomorrow we can go to the store.
But let's cook some.
What do you want to make?
I don't know, like a couple chicken breasts or something.
There's still frozen chicken in there. We can make another thing of pasta if you want.
We have Alfredo sauce.
We have one thing of Alfredo. If you want to grab another one.
I'll call you when I get off.
Okay.
All right.
So yeah, we can kind of automate between these patches, or sorry, these effects now, from being on and off to going from wait, I wanted this to there we go. Okay. That's still randomizing though, so I guess we'll have to turn that off. Unfortunately, I was hoping that I can leave this on, and then when it's off, it will just play the original pitch, and then when I turn the macro up, it will start to vary it on the pitch. But that's okay. So now what we can do is we've got our booster right here. And let's go to, oh shit, let's go to, I think a 12 dB is what I usually do. And then I will kind of just widen this out a bit, kind of like maybe in the 120 area. And then to kind of make sure that I don't kill you guys, I'm going to throw a limiter on this. And then from here, we kind of just get into more post-processing of doing the normie things. Vocoder. And then we can go to FX3. Okay, that's sounding pretty cool. Heading to bed. Good luck on the sound design. For sure, man. Good luck on the cork swings. Yo, if you want, if you're in my Discord, you are in my Discord, I believe. Big ups from Australia. Put a if you can, film a video, and I'll give you some feedback on it. And I'll kind of direct you or I'll be able to kind of better tell you what you're doing with your corks and stuff if you want to kind of figure that out. But I'd be happy to take a look at your tricking stuff. That's honestly how I got better, was like we were on tricks tutorials and we would just upload our footage and be like, yo man, how do I land this? And then we'd all give advice to each other, which is kind of like the same mentality that I have with music here. Okay, so something that, for sure, man, take care of yourself. So one thing that I've been having a lot of fun trying out lately is using the homicide distortion. And I find that the cubic mode on here can really give you some cool shit. But you want to be careful with this, because homicide is a great way to just like totally ruin your sound. Hey, Alckemy. Hello, NX. Okay, so something else that we might be able to play with as well is we can... I can't scroll. Oh, I can scroll. You have to use this bar. But I wish that I could use like the 2-finger slide thing. Alright, so what I can do is as the pitch goes up, these go down. So we'll pull all of these to relatively 24%. Wow, man, it's a cool sound. I love it. I love that like every comment you have is I love it. I almost feel like you're memeing me sometimes, but you're so consistent with it that I can't really be upset. So yeah, now that we have this, we will... Oh, this is going way too fast now. So let's slow this down if possible. Is that going to go faster? Maybe. Hold on, let me see. Wow. That sounds really cool. Let's go to 8 on this instead. No, Buckshot, don't start freaking out on me. No, I know a storm is coming. You gotta chill. You gotta chill. Buckshot, you gotta chill. My dog is deathly afraid of thunderstorms, and there's one rolling in right now. Did I get the community sample pack via Mr. Bill's video? No, I haven't. I don't even know what you're talking about. Yeah, he's a talker. This bass sounds awesome. I am all about it. This shit sounds great. Oh. My dog surprisingly doesn't get too scared. Well, okay, so like, can I tell you guys a really sad story? So the reason why my dog is terrified of thunderstorms is because a few years ago, hold on, let me back up. So I have 3 dogs right now. I have a dad, a mom, and a son. So they're a family. And we had 2. So we had another son named Cannon. And a long time ago when my brother was living... Dude, let me tell my story, okay? Chill. No, don't do my cords! Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, with his awesome thumbnail with all of his facial expressions. Yeah, so a long time ago, my dogs got out, and somebody called the police on my dogs. And my dogs are really friendly. They love people, but Cannon growled at somebody, and they called the police, and my neighbors, I kid you not, were like, when the police came, they said, if you don't want to see this, go inside. And they killed Cannon with a shotgun. And so I think that thunder reminds Buckshot of gunshots, or like kind of like that thing. So I think that he's got really bad PTSD, and it's really fucked up. And you know, I don't really want to talk about police or anything right now or be political, but yeah, I think that's kind of why he's just so bad with thunderstorms, just because it's really traumatic. So yeah, I do sympathize with him, but I don't really know what to do to help him kind of like find his way through it, other than like honestly like ignoring him and trying to desensitize him to it. I think has been the most helpful thing, because if I give him attention when he freaks out, then he'll go like absolutely bonkers, and I want to try not to do that. But I do feel bad for him, you know. He's a really sweet dog, and he just is full of love, but he's just psycho from that, unfortunately. It's okay. Oh shit, I shouldn't have said anything. Are you saying hi to everybody? Are you saying hi to everybody? Really? Really? You're okay. Get down. Get down. Get down. Get down, doggo. Hey. Go lay down. Go cower. Go. Go. You're alright. Go cower. Go. Poor guy. Okay, so I wonder what this sounds like if we turn everything back on with all of the post-processing that we have, and we can turn this back on, and now we can just kind of play with this and see what this will do. Hi, Alckemy, cool sound. Hey, how do I pronounce your name? Can you tell me how to say that? Because unfortunately, I'm not even bilingual of any language other than heavily very fluent in sarcasm. But that's not really another language. But tell me how to say your name, or tell me how to read that, and I'd like to try and say hello to a formal greeting. Cool. So some other stuff that we can do is we can try a pitch shifter. And I'm actually going to group this because I might want to, I think it'll be okay if I kind of automate these both and turn them off and leave them both in the same chain or whatever. But on one end, I want to try to see, thanks Dima. Hello Dima, welcome. Dima Cosmos, cool man, thanks for doing that. I don't know. I always feel like when people come in, if I actually make an effort to like say somebody's name or greet them with like personally, as opposed to just like, yo, what's up, dog? Then sometimes it can be a little bit more personal, and that's always something to me. Is like I want people to feel like they're included in all this stuff. I try to be pretty good about chat. Okay, so let's set this to slower rates because this is all fucked up. Something maybe like half note. So this is going to kind of jumble around in different places and stuff, and let's see what that sounds like. Okay, this might actually be really cool to throw a ROM into this, and I'm just gonna keep trying to stack shit until my CPU gives up and is just like, nah man, you're done. But it might be kind of cool to have like a quick randomizer on this, kind of play around with some reverb like this, and set that to like 1/8 or something. Wow, hell yeah. That was really cool. So now what we can do is we can start to figure out when this is going to start kind of, I guess, quote unquote, oscillating. Okay, and now what we can do is grab another randomizer like this, and we just want to push this up like ever so slightly. How long did it take to kind of make glitchy stuff like this? I'd say like this, I really got turned on to this kind of sound design once I got into Bitwig, And then also like Faceplant really turned me on to it as well. I think one day I was just messing around, and then I was like, that's not true. If you guys have seen Frequent's video, he's got this thing to where he takes this, he uses this, he just pretty much does the same thing within Serum. And I was like, wow, well, I can take that idea and I can kind of like randomize all these parameters and such, and really just like see what I can do with Faceplant, because both Faceplant and Bitwig support all of the modulation, right? And so what I started doing was I started taking Neurobase ideas, and then I started posting them through all this crazy processing and stuff to try to see what I can get. I'm really surprised that I haven't seen a lot of people on the internet like totally steal this idea, but whatever, at least I have a document. I did it first. I'm kidding. I probably didn't, but it doesn't even matter. But yeah, that's kind of how I kind of came across this idea of doing randomized stuff like this. Yeah, I'm just being a jerk. It really does not matter. But okay, not sure if CPU is tanking or if other things are dictating this. It might be this. So maybe what I can try to do is kind of level this out. And sometimes like it's just tuned to taste, you know. And honestly, I think that like the key to making like the coolest sounds and all that is, the basic part is understanding randomize everything. But the key to it, or where things really get interesting, is kind of like the tune to taste, if that makes sense. So really just like figuring out what these smaller adjustments and stuff are, I think is what's going to be the most beneficial. Like, I'm not really sure why this is still, this should not be going bipolar. Oh, that's why. Okay, never mind. It should be going bipolar because I didn't change it. There we go. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So now what we can do is we can actually add another randomize everything. Hands up. What we can do is we can add another pitch shifter. And it's all about taste, really. What it comes down to is it's all about taste. So we can kind of even this out a little bit. Make sure that that's there. Yeah. How do you like that? So, basically, for the most part, I'm going to try not to say basically too much. Guys, when I uploaded this last video with mixing, I said basically like 50 times, and that was because I was trying to have like a cop-out of being like, this isn't everything that this effect can do, but here's the gist. And I have a bad habit of doing that. But using a pitch shifter in conjunction with a ring mod is absolutely amazing. And so when you have all these like different like things that are being randomized to such a degree, I really like this kind of sound, but I find it hard to make it fit musically. You don't make it musically, you make it rhythmic, which might be synonymous with musically, but I wouldn't say that those are the same things. For me, whenever I write tunes, it's all mostly texture based, if that makes sense. So I kind of let go of the idea of being like, I need a chord progression and I need a melody and I need a and all that stuff. And instead, I kind of got into this habit or this idea of being like, I just want to make these really heavy sounds and these really heavy textures, and then figure out a way to make that in particular useful. And it works out when you kind of give up the idea of having to combine music with it, because you're allowed to make these sounds as big as they want to be. But there's this loss of character that you have whenever you bounce something out like this, and then you start like doing heavy EQ to it in order to make a melody fit on top of it. So the way that you make this work is like, if you have to have some kind of melody over this or whatever, which is kind of what I wanted to experiment with on this in particular, is you have very, very ambient pads in the background that are just like super duper simple and very quiet and to the back of the mix. And I don't know if you guys have heard of Man from Saul, but he recently put up a video that was very informative to me. I commented on it and I was like, yo man, I feel like this was made for me, because I'm getting comfortable with using these kinds of sounds in a textural basis of just like heavy, like, but combining those two elements are one of the hardest things to do. And the only way to keep this as heavy is to really just like really dial back on anything melodically driven. Otherwise you lose the power and the character of the sound, which, you know, you can do that, but I don't know, to me it takes away the appeal of making these sounds in the first place. I feel like if I'm going to make something like this, like it should be like the coolest freaking thing that you've ever heard. How long did it take you to write and publish your first track, and how long does it take now? I mean, the track you were ready to stream. Let me see. I wrote my first tune, quote unquote. And it took me like 2-3 weeks to put together, but that's because I was trying to copy this song from it's called I Think Forever from Melody Symphony, and I was really just trying to, as close as I could, to try to copy that tune. But the longest a track has ever taken me to write is about a week and a half, and the shortest amount of time that a track has taken me to write is honestly 10 minutes. Like if you write lo-fi, you can literally just bang out tracks and yeah, in like 10 minutes, just because it's so simple. Especially like if you're just bringing from samples and all you do is like drag in samples and do an arrangement out of it. I have a 15-minute track challenge that puts a lo-fi track together, and you can kind of see how easy it is to kind of just get things up and going and working when everything kind of works together in such a way. But that last track that I finished, this one in particular, I still need to do the mixing and mastering on it, but it took me 3 days to write, and I did the whole thing on stream. So yeah, that took 3 days, but we did all that on stream. And if you caught the stream, then yay. If you didn't catch the stream, then sorry. I like sharing my production, but I kind of feel like if you're here for the stream, then it's kind of like you just got to be here, you know, as opposed to like giving all of my production away and kind of doing stuff like that. Like I don't mind sharing it, but it's much more rewarding if people are actually here watching it, as opposed to like, here you go, and then you know, I get like 50 dislikes on the video anyways or something. But yeah, so that's kind of 3 days it took to write that. And sometimes like I just sit on stuff for a long time. Your last stream inspired me to do more halftime neuro glitchy stuff. Dope, man. Yeah, it's to be honest though, like I'm not really like a halftime producer, and I don't really like want to get into the intricacies of genre, but the reason why I say that is because I actually have a really hard time with swinging rhythm. Like doing something like Ivy Lab and like getting like a laid back feel like that is really freaking hard for me. Of kind of like, you know, look at any Ivy Lab tune. And to me, like, that's something that I've been chasing for years now, but I can't get it right. I don't know. So instead, what I do is I slow the rhythm down, and I usually put everything on grid. So like I'll put a kick snare on grid, and then using these cuts to bounce out. What's it called? Yeah, using the cuts to bounce out. They usually have all of these polyrhythms within them, so I can just use like little cuts like this to. That was really cool. I can just use stuff like that to fill in the rhythms instead. And so like you can just, put a bang on grid or bang on beat and then kind of like slow the beat down and do like drum breaks and stuff and then just kind of have that fill. I figured I get a lot of better vibes making halftime and switching it to D&B rhythm. Well, yeah, it makes your tune a lot more interesting as well, right? Of like combining different genres of like halftime and double time. I love watching your production streams, but I never catch them live. I binged all your old production streams, lol. Yeah, I'm sorry. I have been streaming at completely random times right now. Part of it is because I'm trying to just get a feel for like when is the best time to stream. But also like I'm trying to do this full time, and aside from building products to sell on the website, from trying to stay consistent of uploading videos to YouTube, doing live streams, and then also like doing the training that I do for like martial arts and tricking and stuff. It's kind of hard to manage or to dedicate all that time. And I am nowhere close to being anywhere near successful with it. But I think that over time, I think I can get there. And it's been really fun up to this point, just building the community. And like I've met so many awesome people from being on the internet all the time. There's so many good people that I've met through here. I'm so fortunate. But yeah, but it's hard. Okay. So basically, any idea how long I'll be streaming? So it's 5:44 right now. I will be getting off of here at around 7:30, 7:40-ish, because I have to start class. And I've got to teach, I have to co-teach, rather, martial arts class online. After this week, my instructor, who's in Canada, will be switching back. He'll be starting to teach class back like in person again. So the online classes will kind of stop. So my schedule will kind of open back up. But there will be a lot of like schedule flipping and all that stuff. But yeah, guys, if you have any questions about anything, like this is kind of why I like streaming, to be honest. Like there are times if I feel like producing, then I'll turn my mic off and just start putting stuff together. I'm not here to start a new track today, so I'm not really worried about like getting anything particularly done. I think that this stuff here is going to be everything that I need for the next track for the most part, because if I turn all this stuff off, then I have a bass, and then if I turn all this stuff back on, I can use that to build texture. And then we've already bounced out this cool little beat that I kind of wanted to draw inspiration from. I bought your glitch generators pack. Good stuff. Yo, thank you so much for telling me. Not so much for like purchasing it, but thank you for telling me that you enjoy it. That really helps me out. And like for any of you guys, as long as you're respectful about it, I really want to know what you guys think about the stuff that I put out, because it's going to help me make better quality things. Like I know that a lot of times I ask for your money, but I'm not asking you to give me your money. I'm trying to earn your money. So yeah, we have this kind of like silly drum groove or whatever, but I like that it has this kind of swing nature to it. And so I kind of want to try to build a groove around that, of just like something that's really vibey, of just like just something like that with all of these rhythms and stuff. I think would be really cool. Whether it works out or not is I don't know, but it's an idea to kind of base off of. So what I'm also going to do now is I'm going to start building a texture. And the way that I do that these days, I have a video on this if you guys are interested. I don't know who watches me and who's seen all of my videos, so I really try not to assume that anybody has seen my content. I think that's a little bit arrogant. But basically what I do to build textures now is I just open this up in multi-sample mode, and then I kind of come in here and just grab anything that's related to Foley. What BPM are we on right now? 127. Oh, that's why you don't know, is because my website is hiding that. I'm on 127 right now. Okay, so we can take something like that. Have you ever tried the APC40 for Bitwig? I normally use it for VJing, but I just tried it in Bitwig and it enables an amazing workflow. What is an APC40? Short answer is no, because I don't even know what that is, but that'll be cool. We could kind of generate like a factory sounding thing with that. That'll be useful. To be honest, I will for sure be a customer once I have more money to spend. I would love to support what you're doing. You have so much great content. Yo, man, thanks so much. I really appreciate that. But like, I also hope that you understand that, like, for one, just being here is really helpful to me, and then also like interacting with my content in general. You know, like I think that, like, more importantly than the money, having an established like fan base, or having, I guess, like a personal relationship with the people that interact with my content, like, has to come first. Because if it's not genuine, then I'm just another guy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just somebody that's like trying to make a buck or two, and I don't think that's the right way to go. And I've never been about that. Um, the stuff that I make, you know, for one, there's a bunch of free stuff on the website. So if you guys want like anything that sounded like what I was just making, there's a bunch of free crap that you can download, and I hope that you do and take advantage of it. And that's there. But you know, for one, I'm there with you, and two, like, you know, times are hard right now. But it's still kind of cool and just nice to have a bunch of people being around, being like, hey, like, keep doing, you know, keep going, keep doing what you're doing, because that's, you know, that is really helpful in a lot of ways too. So welcome to the Discord, Perko. The Akai APC40 MK2 MIDI controller, it's amazing. So I had an MPC Live last year, and it just didn't work out for me. For the most part, what I do is really just with mouse and keyboard, and the reason why is because I'm much more efficient at it. Like, I have a Rolly Seaboard, but I'm honestly like, well, for one, I'm really salty because I ordered one off eBay and they sent me like a really fucked up one. Like, the next time I'm on camera, I don't feel like being on camera today, but the next time I'm on camera, I'll show you what I mean. And they just sent me this jank ass fucking Rolly Seaboard, and I'm like, oh my god, man, what is this? It works, but uh, uh man, I got gypped, guys. But yeah, like, I don't really use a keyboard or anything anymore, just because the workflow that I have is just so, like, you know. I mean, I've got some tips on serum design from Rocket Power Sound, but the guy literally turned into the give me your money type. Like, okay, you know, for the sake of just being respectful, I don't really want to talk about that. Not like in a mean way or anything, but let's just say that I have a different philosophy on how all that stuff works, or how I want to have a business approach. And like, you have to understand too that in some cases, like, in order for you to be successful, like, you kind of have to drive your sales a bit, right? And that might honestly be one thing that keeps me from not ever being successful. But I'm just not that kind of person. Like, it's just not me. And it's really hard to try to, you know, bully people, or to try to really just like bug people to this like intense degree of being like, hey, 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 hey. um I don't know, it's just not in my personality type. I don't mind giving a shout out of being like, hey guys, if you want to support my channel or something, but when it's just like, you know, uh when it comes to some of those like sound design courses and stuff, that's like, you know, this is valued at, you know, X amount of money, um, but we'll give it to you for this or whatever. Like, that's kind of a different deal. But you know, I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, because obviously he's just trying to hustle, you know, and you have to respect that. But it's just not how I personally want to do things. Okay, we're gonna throw an OTT on this. Or actually, what I want to do is we're gonna randomize this just a bit with two different ones, And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create just a tone, kind of like this. And we'll pull this down, and we'll pull this down to some degree, kind of like upwards like this. I think that I've seen a few videos from Rocket Power Sound, and I think that, you know, he is really passionate about what he does, and you have to kind of have some idea of respect for that. But we also have to like consider that in the old world, like the access of information that is out these days is so much larger than like even 3 years ago, right? And, you know, you have to consider that a long time ago, like, people would pay a lot of money for this kind of information that people are doing. And, you know, it's just kind of one of those things that it's kind of hard to dictate about, like, what is proper morale or not. And people always say, too, like, if you're good at something, don't do it for free. So basically with this, sorry for the tangent, is I am creating kind of just like this nice little tonal pad. I've got more pointers on how to use Serum from most of the YouTube people. Where do they even come up with those total value numbers? Dog, I have no idea. Yo, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, man. Thank you so much for the sub. And if you come in and you do tune feedback, if you guys are a $5 patron, then, or a patron, if you guys are a $5 member, then you get to skip the line. But sincerely, thank you. I hope you know how much I appreciate that. And then also, if you decide to buy something from the store, then please send me a message, and I'd be happy to give you that 20% discount. And also, thank you to Wiggles. I'm glad that the coupon has worked for you, and I hope that you find value within that, because I love Faceplant. Okay, so what I think I want to do on this too is
Soul Steel!
Oh wow, that came late. Is pull the grain size down. Really appreciate what you're doing. No, dude, like I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I don't know how I can be more genuine than giving you a proper thanks, but I hope that you know how much I mean it. Okay, I think we're also going to play with some delay. And what we're pretty much doing right now is just helping create emotion on this to kind of help fill out what we're going to do. And this works really well because whenever we balance this out and we throw this into the sampler, it's going to end up doing some really cool stuff. Stop it. Yeah, yeah, I know that like I'm an affiliate of Faceplant or whatever, but that doesn't mean that they necessarily pay me. That's not really how that works. But I also like firmly believe in kilohertz, like to death. They're just the coolest. For one, they're just the coolest people on the planet. They're so nice and so so attentive to feedback. And the other thing is that Faceplant is just freaking awesome. Like you can't do hardly. There's so much that you cannot do in other DAWs or other like pieces of software that you can in Faceplant. Let me rename this as a pad. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit distracted. I don't know if I already asked you, but I'm not sure if I should get both Serum or Faceplant. If both, what should I get first? I'm making a pad right now, Imperial. I would get Faceplant, to be honest. It's in the long, like a lot of what you can do, like you can watch a Serum tutorial and for the most part do the same thing in Faceplant. For the most part, there's some translation that you will lose, but if you kind of like know your way around it. But likewise in Faceplant, like the routing capabilities and like the modulators that it comes with, and the fact that you can like infinitely stack like effects on top of each other is just it's so good. What I would recommend is trying out the demo and then also just going maybe for like a $10 subscription, so that way you get access to everything. Because that's one thing that's really important that I don't know if people run into that or not, but it's something that I do worry about, is that like just because you have Faceplant, you don't get all the modules. Well, you do, but you can't use them all in the way that you would want to. So with the $10 a month thing, you get everything. And I think that's the best way to go before you figure out what you want to do. And then actually, believe it or not, a lot of times Faceplant goes on sale, or like their whole package goes on sale. So you can kind of just wait for that. Okay, greetings, entity. So with this, we've got a kind of sample stack, and this is something that's actually exclusive to Bitwig. I haven't seen any other piece of software that can do this, but you can basically have multi-sample mode to a ridiculous degree and play these all in such a way that you can do like all of these in a single granular sampler. That project files thing that you have on the left is a really cool idea. Do I know of a good way to do that in Ableton other than just creating a folder? On the right. Oh, this thing? Yeah, you can actually. So if you pull up Ableton, this might take a second. Ableton takes so long to open. Oh my god, are you for real? 3 hours later. Bruh. Come on, dude. I'm so sorry. Please don't leave. Okay, well, let's wait for that to pull up. And while we're doing that, so basically, if you stack fully like this in such a way, and then you change the pitch of some of these, kind of like this, to like C4, F4, it doesn't matter. Just turn this shit down. Then you get stuff like this. Yeah, it's like, no, you've been cheating on me. You was supposed to, you were the chosen one, and you left me. You left me for Bitwig, you son of a bitch. Sorry, Ableton. You're still great, and I still have to use you for certain things, but Jesus Christ. Oh, there we go. Okay. So right here in the current project file, like if you start throwing samples onto here, so let me just like, yeah, it works. Oh shit, that's not what I wanted to do. If you just throw a sample in right here and then you go into the user library, you will actually, or sorry, current project, then this is actually where stuff will actually pop up. And I don't know what it takes for things to start popping up in here. Like maybe if I do Command J, or maybe freeze and flatten. There we go. So if you freeze stuff and all that, then you start to get your project files right here. So you can actually use that as a means for the same thing of your preset browser. But the thing about Ableton that I've kind of like I don't miss is that it's kind of limited. So right here, if you have the Creative Live extension, then you can right click and pull in like plugins and stuff from here. I think Dylan Tallchief made it. But basically the workflow that I've adopted is I have my sample browser right here, and then whenever I want to pull up a new design like this, or whenever I want to pull up a new effect or whatever, I can just hit the plus button and then type it in right here, and it's like so much faster to get into and to start doing cool things to. And it's very conducive to the kind of workflow that well I've come to adopt. Long story short, I do miss some things from Ableton, but yeah, Faceplant has Space Invaders, and then Multipass has Snake. So like if you're really feeling uninspired, then you can play Space Invaders. As you can tell, I have a very low high score, but if you want to play Snake and Multipass as well, you can play Snake. I'm really good at this game, by the way. Ah! Okay, let's just pretend like that didn't happen. That does not exist. Okay, so what we want to do with this Ah, okay, you're making me want to start venturing into Bitwig. Yo, I would say try the demo. Really, that's like the best. I have a video on like why I switched, and again, like that's not like I did mention that I switched, but that was an honest thing. Like I really did switch, and I really do make stuff exclusively within Bitwig now. But it was a very happy switch in the long run. But I still miss some things from Ableton. But like, sorry, what I was trying to get at is that like everything Ableton is still fantastic. It's still great. And you should still like you shouldn't dismiss it just because there's some cool like extra bells and whistles. But for me, I was like, wow, I think that this is something that I'm really going to resonate with, and that's kind of why I chose to go that way. To even use that sample browser efficiently would have getting better at organizing my projects too. Yeah. And are we creating engine sounds now? Right now, we're kind of just doing a soundscape. We created this other sound we created this other thing here in a second that I'll show you. But right now, I'm just doing some soundscaping. What is my favorite kind of lead? There's two. I have two favorite kinds of leads. My primary favorite kind of lead, even though I never use it in any of my music, is kind of like that distorted saw guitar, like old retro 80s synth that has some vibrato on it. But the other one that I really like is kind of like a square donk. What's his name? Oh my gosh. Haywire uses it a lot. Okay, so with the pad, I forgot. I need to make sure that this is set at the correct pitch, but this sounds really nice. So I think some cool things that we can do in order to make this a little bit more dynamic as well is we can add in some pitch shifters. And we can kind of just set these to chords. So what I'm going to do is just grab this to a 7th-ish. And then I'm going to pull this down by quite a bit. And then I'm going to grab a randomizer. And we'll grab this and kind of just pull the mix up a little bit, ever so slightly. Kind of like that. And then what we'll do is we'll group this in a chain and kind of turn this down a bit. Oh, no, never mind. We'll just leave it in serial. Yeah, sorry for spam. How do you guys know how to... Do you guys know how to rescale faceplant? It's taken half of my screen. I don't know what I did. I don't know how to do this to scale the plugin. Yeah, sure, dude. You go right here, and then there's this little corner button right there, and then you just do that. I believe that for this patch, this is as small as I can make it. I don't know if there's another way to scale that any smaller, but that's pretty much, that's as much as it goes down to, it says 75%, I believe. Yeah. It would be kind of cool if like you had if you could do like fold out, like collapsing and stuff on this too, kind of like how you can right here, or if you can kind of like, yeah, I'm repeating myself. That would be kind of neat, but that's what I would do. But I like to make my faceplant big for you, so that way you can, because I can't reach the low part. Oh no, that's terrible. What was I doing? Yeah, so just a little bit of stuff here, and then I can kind of let this creep in at like a bar or so, and then I can do a couple of them and set this one maybe to like 12. And come in here and pull the grain size up a little bit. So now within this, whenever we play this, at certain points of in time, this will kind of split the audio. Yeah, sounds pretty nice. Okay, it's a little bit overbearing, so what we can also do is maybe grab another filter right here and kind of even that out a bit. That's going really fast. I want that to go a little bit slower. And then the other thing that we want to consider is that if we want this to seem really far away, then we actually want to do a low cut to the reverb, because as this is something that I've been learning about recently, but which seems, I'm getting ready to tell you, and it's going to sound super obvious if you didn't know already, but as something is further away, it's going to, because low frequencies travel further than high frequencies, like bigger reverb means that it would be perceived as darker. And then you would use a lot of high frequencies for something that's on a short reverb. So basically by, oh man, there it goes again. Fucking word. In essence, for trying to avoid describing something as basically, in essence, you can use that as a means in diffusion, I think is actually what it's called, of trying to mitigate the higher frequencies in that range. And it's kind of fidgety because like that's where like things get really muddy, right, in your low mid, but that's kind of where you can automate things and keep that a little bit further in the background with a low volume. But that's kind of what this is supposed to be for anyways, is like kind of just use that as a means of ambience. Take a clap. Okay, let's see what happens if I use a slice EQ with this. Maybe we can use an OTT. And then we can fix that with a Pro Q. We don't really want that, but maybe something like this we can kind of try to mitigate a little bit. I guess like this is a factory with a bunch of cows in it or something, which is slightly comical, slightly kind of dark, if you know what I mean. Jeez, that was terrible. Oh my god. So yeah, something else that we can do is we can automate a delay. I like to use, honestly, Kilohertz delay is free. If you guys don't have it, you can just download it from their website, and this is a really awesome delay. We can just set this to a ping pong and then set this to maybe like 3/16, and then we'll just automate the mix on this. No, we can randomize the mix. That's funny. You guys can see how my brain works like 2 steps ahead. Moo and bass. That's kind of like, actually, if you think about it, like a moo is not that far off. That might actually be a fun challenge, is to take a moo and make that into a bass. I'm going to put that one in my pocket and maybe do something like that later. That could be pretty silly. So one thing that I wish that the modulators had with this is... Yo, thank you so much for subscribing, Wiggles. I appreciate it, man. Okay, so I like this a lot. Moo! One other thing that we can do is... No, but for real, a moo distorted and detuned is my go-to today. Wait, that's really what you... Like, are you saying moo is, like, metaphorically of, like, a saw wave? Or are you really, like, into making moos? Do you really take cow moos and, like, make that into a bass? I've made bases out of a lot of things. A cow is not one of them. It's time to replace the Foghorn era of D&B with Moo. I love Foghorn bases, but I like the lower Foghorn bases, not like the screechy ones. What was I doing? Literally going to sample a cow. Nice. Portal. What the hell are we talking about? Well, wouldn't you like to know? No, I'm kidding. Okay, so I have this preset on here called Portal Randomizer. And basically what this is... Oh, god damn it. Sorry, there it is again. But what this does is randomizes just about everything. And you'll see this just kind of move on its own. But I'm going to set this to a little bit shorter of a pitch. Kind of like this. And I just want to see what this sounds like, if at all interesting. And then if not, then I'll just reset this. But I kind of wanted to just find out. Okay, it sounds kind of demonic, which is kind of cool. But what happens if I put it on over here? Okay, maybe before the reverb. Okay, there's a reverb already on here, so maybe I can turn the ROM off and let this play out. Yo, dog, I heard you like granulizing granular things, so we're going to take a granular and granulize it, and then we're going to throw it into another grain delay before we granulize something else. Okay, it's okay, but I'm just going to grab a fresh one. Prottle. My favorite VST is Prottle. Yes. So on this, we'll just set this to here. We'll set this to a half retrigger, and then we'll just put the count to like 2, and then we'll change the pitch to octaves for now, and then we can change the density to kind of like 1/4 maybe, and then maybe ever so slightly pull this up, so that way it's a little bit less of a dramatic effect. I kind of want that to move slower. It's kind of going a little bit too quick for me. I'm pretty sure, yeah. I want to say. I think so. I think this is better without the OTT. Wow, that's nice. Cool. Okay, so some other stuff that I want to play with though is I want to see if I can get this to kind of pull out different pitches, and I think that would be really nice to kind of like play as far as like, because it would be really cool to make the idea behind this is I wanted this to be more ghostly. It's already there in the low region, but since we're playing such a low note, like I'm not really getting a lot of that. So one thing that I can try is we can leave that there. Is I can turn this up maybe just a bit and see what that sounds like. What was the original sample? It's 4 samples that are all playing together. So it's this one. Wait, can I solo these? I don't think that I can. Some field recording or something. They are Foley, but they're just different Foley like loops or whatever. Yeah, I can't solo these, so I can't show you exactly, but there's a pad that I made in Faceplant. There's a Foley loop that looks like this, and then another Foley loop, and then just like a hit of some sort. And when you play them all together, it sounds kind of like... sounds like that. Then when you change it to textures mode and you put it on free, that's when you get all that cool stuff. Moo. You say I need a moo, hey? Okay. Well, let's try it. This is amazing. Wow. 10 out of 10 idea, guys. Nice. Yeah. Like I said, 10 out of 10 idea. Maybe we can enhance this a little bit with a vocoder. But I wonder why the pad isn't playing. I don't hear the pad at all. Oh. Oh. That's super nice. Me trying to get a job as a sound designer, also me. I applied at a few places, but I don't have a portfolio to show other than music. Um, that's I'm hoping that somebody will just like discover my YouTube channel and be like, "Yo, man, you know how to sound design? You want a job?" And I'll be like, "Flip, yeah," because I do it. I'll totally do it. This is like the fun stuff. So yeah, we have an excellent pad. I don't know if I'll keep the moo or not, but maybe I'll bounce out. Actually, I lied. I will keep the moo, and we can use this and kind of bounce that out in other ways of texture when trying to create some of those things. Because it's like, it went from a factory sounding thing to like almost a forced creature type thing. And maybe what we can even do if we want to change it to something that's kind of swampy in that nature is like grab some kind of tree branch or something that has like a lot of crackles. I don't know what that was, but okay. Majestic Demo MP3. Don't let me go. Just kidding. Okay, let's find something that's kind of crackly. Yeah, I think that will actually work. If we turn this down like really low. Not quite what I was looking for. Do I have like a tree or something? That does not sound like a tree. Ooh, funky. Tree branch, come on. Something. Tree wind. Maybe branch. Brackened. Yeah, maybe stuff like that. Let's try this one instead. And I think what I'm going to do on this as well is push this down just a little bit and push this down too, because the pitch is kind of rising up quickly when the grain and the speed moves at a faster rate. So I don't really want this to like, I don't really want it to go up so quickly. I want it to have motion, but I don't want it to be like squealing or something. We don't want to think that it's like a cow being tortured or whatever. We kind of just want it to have a nice, easy motion. There we go. That sounds way better to me. So like one thing I really wish that Bitwig had is the ability to automate or modulate rather the parameters that are in here, because if you can do that on an individual basis, like this sampler would, the sampler is already OP, but I don't know how else to describe it other than what it is. But imagine if you can move all of this stuff of like where the playhead starts or where the playhead ends, and the pitching of this and the volume of this, I think would be just the coolest thing ever. Like if you had the ability to modulate the stuff that's in the inspector view, oh my gosh, this would be, I gotta name it Moo Soundscape. Can we just call it Mooscape? Would that be acceptable? Call it Mooscape. Mooscape. There we go. And then I'll save that to the library. Mooscape. Beware of the cow demons. And then we need to label this as dork. Okay. Who was asking me? Somebody was asking me something about faceplant earlier. I can't remember. Wait, let me scroll up. Oh, you were asking me what we were doing right now. Yeah, so this was the patch that we made earlier. I did a couple of things with it. So first off, I made this into a quote-unquote neurobase or whatever. And that sounds like this. Let me turn all this other stuff off. Moostical. Did I turn? Okay, I did. Turn that off. Turn this off. And that sounds like this. Dude, who needs Calbo when you have like real actual moves? So that was the first part that we did. The second part was we took that idea and then we turned this into a randomizer of some sort with different things. Yo, it is crazy. Thanks, man. And now this sounds like this. Wait, let me turn this off and let me turn all the other processing or whatever I have off so that we can try to salvage some CPU. Okay, maybe that might actually be kind of cool to add another randomizer to that though, just because I don't want it to kind of do that oscillation all the time. So maybe I can kind of set that to like a half note and then see what that does. Wow. Yes. Yes. Fuck yeah. Man, I gotta tell you guys, sound design, since I've gotten into Bitwig and since I've gotten into Faceplant, sound design is so much funner. Just the sheer amount of unpredictability that you can get. And then like once you find unpredictability, then you go back through the patch and you find out what makes it like more predictable. And that's pretty much the gist of how you do these kinds of randomizers in such a way. So yeah, I'm actually going to save this. And what should we call this one, guys? For one, we need to call the patch something. So I think I'm going to call this hybrid. Hybrid generator. And then you can okay. You can switch between a neurobase and generator. Okay. So yeah, we'll call this hybrid. And then we'll call the patch name Moobrid, just for the spirit of the cow. And what was I talking about? Yeah, so like there actually is a degree of predictability. I don't know if you guys know who Akabo is, but I was talking to him earlier and he was talking to me about like the faceplant ideas and stuff. But if we look at some of these things, like let me just look at some of these other generators and stuff. Like these titles that I have aren't just arbitrary. Like they actually kind of, I tried to make these somewhat describe the sounds that you hear whenever something is being played from this. Yeah, dude, Bitwig plus Faceplant plus Portal, if you have it, like is is OP as hell. But yeah, so something like this, right? Right, that kind of like seems like something that's cybernetic to me. My favorite one that I have on here is called like Robot Force or something, And I might have to turn the tempo down to get it to work the way that I initially designed it. But where is this? It's so cool to me. Yeah, the robot forced one is just sick. So let me turn the tempo down to, I think I made this at like 80 BPM, maybe 85. I'm pretty sure it was 80 BPM. So let's listen to this one and see if we can get some cool stuff out of this too. Ideally, the reverb is supposed to be kicking in a little bit more than what is, but when this pulls up a little bit more, let's just do this. You get some really cool stuff. There you go. I like that one a lot. But yeah, there's just a bunch of different things like this, and kind of that Lost Souls generator is kind of cool too. I've kind of designed like two different kinds of generators in general. Like one of them is more for like pads and tones, and the other one is kind of just for like random crazy texture. This one's crazy. Somewhere in here, I have a ring mod going on. Yeah, and that's what's helping that have some of that texture stuff. And like, really, guys, I really think that like if you have access to one, spend more time with the ring mod and pitch shifter, because you just get, if you like making robotic sounds, like that's the key, man. It's just that kind of stuff. You just get the most sick robotic texture stuff. I have this free pack on my website called Abhorrent Mech, and it was made from one of these generators, and then also a ring mod and a pitch shifter that was being kind of pulled at like -12 or whatever, and that together ended up yielding some really crazy things. Oh, I wanted to actually do this. So did I duplicate that? Is that what I did? I shouldn't have done that. Transformers. Okay, so it looks like this. It's not that crazy. Usually I do 2 delays. There's some, I guess, more delay right here, and then some other weird things that's happening right there. Doesn't really matter. But yeah, with this pitch shifter right here, you get some crazy stuff. But that's how all that stuff was made. And I definitely saved that rack because I was like, that's one of the coolest things I've ever made. But yeah, so that's pretty much how I do like my That's the secret to my sound design. And since you're here, you get all the secrets of like, I do videos on like faceplant, and I do videos on like the generators and stuff, but like getting into stuff like this, it's kind of hard to make videos about because you can't really, unless if you see it done from scratch, like I think that it becomes kind of difficult to recreate in one way or another. But that's also why I like to, try to say thank you to the people that are watching streams and stuff, because I'm not going to put this up. Like it's going to go into unlisted videos, and I might do something with it down the line, but you got to be here. You have to be here. Not that what I'm doing is the coolest thing on the planet, but it's something that's valuable to me because this has become like who I am as an artist, if that makes sense. So yeah, regarding that, do we have any like sound design requests on anything? Anything that you guys want to see? I think that I'm going to design a kick while I wait for an answer. We still have about an hour left of stream, so if I'll take sound design requests, just don't be like, how do I make a G Jones bass? Oh, can I request a bass like a song I love? Yeah, I can try. But so I can try to do it, but just know like keep your expectations like to be realistic, if that makes sense. A G Jones bass, please. You can G Jones your face at it. Just kidding. Um, I'd love to see more melodic ethereal soundscape, more like recreate. Yeah, like I said, I can try. Okay, so if you want to do like an ethereal soundscape, it's pretty much the same thing as like what I did for the mooscape, right? Except you do it with melody and harmony. But I can show you how to make something kind of cool in faceplant that I do a lot. Actually, if it's okay, I'll just pull up a preset. It's one of my favorites, but it definitely kind of hits home with what I think you would enjoy. It's called Sunrise with Coffee. This is on my Azoth pack on my website. That was kind of just like a hodgepodge of different stuff that I was trying to put together of like, here's a bunch of shit. And I think that it was kind of like a grab bag of things. But this is what this sounds like. I'm just pushing F whenever this plays. And if I play a chord with this... Oh, sorry, that's a bad chord. So the key to this, it has like a video game vibe to it. I think that comes from the ring mod that I have sent through this. But basically what you do... Fuck, there goes that word again. I'm so sorry. The gist of what you do here is you create a few different groups. And what I've done is I've automated chord tones on here that kind of come in at random. So kind of like this, kind of like this. And let's just turn that off, and let's turn off all these effects. That might be cool, kind of cool to do a patch breakdown. Radio, you'll have to tell me what song it is, and I'll have to look it up on my phone because for some reason YouTube doesn't support links. I've tried to fix it. I don't know how to change it. I'm sorry, but you'll just have to tell me what song it is. If it's G Jones bass, I'm banning you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna do that, but that would be a funny meme. So this is the sound on its own. And what you want to do is you want to start with a single tone and eventually start to introduce harmonics onto this. So for me, this is a chord of here's a seventh and then an octave, right? And I have these LFOs set up right here that kind of draw this in a predictable way. It's Lusco by William. Okay, give me 1 second and then I'll pull that up, okay? And then I have these set at different kind of arbitrary times here. So everything kind of fades in. And sometimes they'll play together, and sometimes you get one or the other. But it's just a nice overall like overtone with that. So the second thing that I've done, I think that this is the flutter group, and this is just saw waves. And I've kind of added some filtering right here. Oh, I think this is stagnant. Oh, that's so nice. So part of what makes this work is a long attack, and then I should turn the release up on that by quite a bit. But these are just stacked saw waves. So you use a bandpass filter, and then you kind of like do a little bit of extra cutting with a low pass, and that's what gives you that tone. Like even with that, with reverb would be great. But what we do is this is being sent to lane 2. So let's just turn this off and let's focus on the first one. Yes. So regarding the first one, basically what this is just filtering that goes like this, kind of just slow movement, and then I have a phaser and compressor. Then that is being sent to lane 3, which is doing some overall compression, the overall reverb, and overall limiting. It's clipping slightly into OBS. Yeah, it's clipping. Well, it's not clipping, but it's resonant just because of the pad, and there's some boosting that's happening right there that's making it sound like that. But OBS has a limiter on it, and there's a limiter at the end of the channel, so it's not quite there. Also, hi EOS. So that's pretty much the only processing from the first group. Then on the second group, that's being sent to lane 2, so we're doing parallel processing within PhasePlant. It's kind of a similar deal where I'm sending a phaser through this, and then the ring mod is kind of activating at random to kind of make it flutter. There's also some delay and then a flanger on this, so some nice spatial effects. And then, of course, that's going into the compression and the reverb as well. And so when you kind of put all these together in such a way, you end up getting something like this. Yeah, it's great. I'm a big fan of ring mods. Use it more. This is actually smart. I'll be playing with this. Thanks. Yeah, man. So like the gist of like how to make really complex pads is to do parallel processing in this way and just set up one pad like this and then set up another group and send it to another lane and then do like your overall stuff at the third lane or whatever. And you can even like split it up too by doing multi-pass or whatever, but that's kind of like an easy way to get into some cool pad stuff. Let me see if I have any other pads that's worth taking a look at. Bad. Let me see. Made by me, preferably. Oh, come on. Supermorph, St. Elmo, that's a bass. Pissed Off Reese, that's also a bass. Oh, this is a mono pad. So this is kind of the same idea, but you'll see here within all of these things that it's just a bunch of groups that have different tonalities to them. So same idea of like harmonics and all that. Sorry, let me turn this up a bit. But it's kind of the same idea where you just have a bunch of stuff moving really slow. In a world, one man was born. His origins are unknown. His memory gone forever. But coming soon to a theater near you, one man with a plan. Phase Plant Man. Yo, what up, Broken Stars? We're just over here goofing off. Yeah, so there's different stuff like that. And yeah, that's the key. It's just really slow movement, tonal things. You're cool, man. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I think everybody here is pretty cool. So let me look up this bass really quick. What was the name of this again? I will find it. Oh, it's Lucia or Luska by William. I'm going to pull it up on my phone because otherwise I cannot monetize. What is this? Otherwise I cannot monetize my videos. So let me see here. You might hear a glimpse of it. Are you sure that's the right spelling? Because I just looked it up and cue the glitchy drop. G Jones bass, please. Oh, maybe I spelled it. Oh, I did spell it wrong. Okay, let me take a listen. Is there a time code? Did you... Oh, 210. Okay. Sorry, I'm looking up this bass right now of what this is. I don't hear any growl bass. Are you talking about the Reese bass that like plays as the sub? Oh, that. Okay. That one? Gotcha, fam. That's the way I describe it. Yeah, that one's actually pretty easy. So let's make a new thing. And let's go here. And I'm going to show you how to get close, okay? So again, sorry about that. It took me a second to kind of hear that through my phone because it's kind of loud. So if you take a synthetic thing like this and you pull this out, automatically this is going to sound pretty close. Pretty close. So if you detune, I just moved really fast, but you take a saw wave, you detune it to 2 voices, and then you set it to like a really high amount, kind of like this, and then you throw that through distortion. So that's already going to give you like a really close idea. And so the next thing to do, if you want to kind of make this a little bit meaner, is you can introduce some sync. Maybe not that much. You can also do like a slight hint of FM, and I'm not really concerned with getting like as super close with what, not there, right there, super close with what they're doing, but there you go. Okay, you can boost this. You can boost the high end of this as well. Let's grab a limiter. And you can also play with some stereo effects, although you want to be kind of like tasteful with it. So I guess like we can just go into multipass and we can just explore a couple of options that you have. Yeah, it's basically the movement thing. Yeah, so part of it is the pitch bend, right? But I'll show you a cool trick that you can do here in just a second. Yeah, so you can set the chorus here, and you can turn that down kind of in this manner. And this kind of gives it that like crunchy or that more crunchy bite. And sometimes if you push this through a bit crusher, then that can also give you some cool stuff that you want. So one thing that is also helpful when you're trying to pull out the phase oscillation from this is to basically, damn it, I'm so self-conscious of that word now. You can essentially turn the stereo all the way down, and that will actually force this to phase oscillate more noticeably. Tasteful, yeah, of being just like kind of like not just slapping an effect on there, of being like kind of like reserved with it, if that makes sense. So one other thing that you can do that that I'm claiming, if somebody else has done it before, then show me a video. But one other thing that I'm claiming is that you can do an LFO on this, like so, and then you can throw this into here. And what you would do is pull this up before the stereo, kind of like this. Sorry, I think I want it like that. And then set the mix to a healthy amount, kind of like that. And what this is going to do is kind of emulate a flanger because of the stereo. And it's like you're pushing the stereo out to the sides, but you're forcing it back into mono, so you're essentially kind of like making a flanger. Kind of like that. This could use some kind of OTT on it, I believe. So we'll go into not to kind of orc ring at a time. Now I just want it to be really loud. And then if you want this to start to morph, you really don't have to get complicated with it. What you can reach for first is just a notch filter. And as of now, my favorite notch filter, or my favorite filter, is actually this one, because you can really dial in on a wide sweep and a wide or a narrow one. And you can do this with an EQ as well. I just like the character of what this one has. And so if you want to make this move with the pitch bend, then what you can set this to is a note right here. And you go to the cutoff like this. And you can pull this up really high, kind of like that. And you set the center to F0, because that's what we're playing right now. And then you set the range to like either 24 semitones or just 12, or just an octave. And so what's going to happen is when you use the pitch wheel, this is going to sweep up the frequency range. I think I'm just going to set this to an octave. So you can go and do a cool sweep like that. You can also pull this back if you want to. Or if you want to not worry so much about the control that you have, you can set this to a randomizer, kind of like so. And you can basically, whatever I set it. Set this here. Set this to sync, and then if you want it to morph more, then you can finish this up with a nice low pass filter like this, and maybe do another randomizer of some sort, kind of like that. I'm going to set that to a higher speed so that way it moves. And then if you want this all to kind of be reactive in one way, then we can take that idea of the note. Dang, I shouldn't have removed that. But we can go back and take the idea of the note and set the speed of all of this to move with the pitch. So we do the same thing where we go into F0 and then set the range to an octave, and then set this to unipolar. So that way it's only going to go faster whenever we pitch this up. And I know, I'm sorry. Okay, maybe I'll pull this up a little bit slower, kind of like this. And there you go, you're getting some nice crunch. The shortcut is Option or Alt, and then you click on whatever it is that you want to copy, and then you hold Option, and then that will create another one. That will create another instance for you. But hopefully this will get you somewhere close, yeah? Is this kind of what you're looking for? This is a little bit squelchy, so I'm going to kind of not move that so dramatically. I think it's coming from that is why it's being so fidgety. So let me set this to a much slower rate. Like that, and then not that distorted, but I'll fiddle around with it. Well, if you don't want it to be that distorted, you can just back off of the distortion in general. And you can also kind of pull back on this. And keep in mind too that like this is just within FacePlant, so like the external processing and stuff that you can do, and you'll have to forgive me because I have an ear for distortion these days, so that's kind of what I look for. How well can one replicate this in Bitwig stock plugins, I wonder? Very easily. Then you can just use an OTT and then bring this back up with the limiter. If you want to see me do that, then I definitely can. Oh, that was supposed to be a limiter, my bad. So now we're not doing quite as much distortion in this, but we brought the volume back up. And cool. All right, so that's that patch. I have so many renditions of that bass, so I'm not worried about saving it. So if I wanted to do this in Bitwig only, Bitwig stock plugins, then what we do is we grab a polysynth like this, and we make a reset of this right here. So we go to unison like that. And we turn that off. Actually, we can use that. There we go. So we can kind of replicate a little bit of that with a randomizer here. And then we go over there and then kind of push this around. So we'll just play with the cutoff kind of in that region. I'm gonna turn the cutoff down here in just a second, but then we can also play with the resonance and switch that to bipolar. Then kind of play just with that region there. Now, one thing that we need to be mindful of is that, oh no, never mind, it's okay, because we're going to distort this after anyways. But yeah, so that's kind of the basic sound anyways, right? And I guess if we wanted to, we can drive this more. I'm going to rely on a trusty tip somebody gave me because I don't actually have a keyboard on here. But I'm going to flip this down a couple octaves. So in order to help us out, we're going to grab a tool to kind of help us, again, try to force that phase oscillation and make that a little bit more clear. And then now we can send this through a saturator. We're actually going to put this before the tool, but we would use saturation on this. Cool. Then we'll grab some filters. So by default, my preset whenever I pull this up is an automatic notch sweep on here. So you'll see that this is already moving in such a way. So we can kind of just throw a couple of those on here if we want. One thing that we can also do if we want to try to replicate that pseudo phasing thing is we can grab a panner kind of like this and then grab a classic LFO, and let's see if this will do what I want it to. I'm not sure, I haven't tried this before, but it would be worth taking a look at. And then we'll just set this to kind of a slowish amount, like 1/2. Kind of. It's not quite as dramatic as the Faturator, but that's okay. But you still get a little bit of it. So what did I do? I think on the effects 3, did I use 1 band or 2? I think I only used 2 bands, right? So on the low band, we're monoing the low end, so we don't really need to touch that. And then on the high band, we had a phaser, or sorry, it was a chorus rather. Kind of like this. And I also had, what, a bit crusher on here, I think, to some degree. So, bit 8. There we go. Nice and crunchy. Then, what else did we have on this, guys? I don't remember. Oh, we had another filter on here on the top end of this that was a low pass. So we'll just do the same thing right here, but kind of push this down and make this go a little bit quicker. And then we had an OTT. And then we had a limiter. You can use the peak limiter. It sucks though, so I'm just gonna cheat and use Pro L. I'm not really gonna. Yeah, I am gonna boost the signal depending on what it sounds like, but. Okay, so we're going to get a little bit more intricate with this because I do like it, but... Okay, what we're going to do instead is we're going to grab another limiter, and this is one cool trick that you can use to fake a mix, or to kind of like fake creating a mix for a filter, because like naturally there is no mix on there, right? So you can just kind of make your own by having a mix here. And now this will kind of dip in and out in certain times, so you'll still get some of the full sound. Hey Summit, how's it going, man? I'm nobody's papa, but thanks. Okay, there's a little bit too much resonance in some of these places, and I don't really like that. And I think that's from the crossover from here. I am having a good day, man. I've had a great time just geeking out with you with chat, really. Nice. I don't know why the layout looks like that now. It wasn't supposed to. Oh, there we go. Okay. Oh, one other thing that I forgot was an EQ. So we'll just do like EQ 5. And we boosted the low end. Okay. Maybe not that much. So yeah, that's pretty much how you can achieve pretty much the same sound in one way or another. But there's other things that you can do with polysynth that makes this a little bit more versatile, like just by adding the modulators on here and kind of messing with going in between some of this mix stuff right here, and then also messing with the drive a bit. You can end up getting some super interesting results sometimes. If you want a little bit of noise on that, you can do that, I guess. It's weird that that's only a high pass, but yeah. And then if you wanted to like randomize this, you can actually even randomize the filter types right here, which is sometimes kind of cool. I don't do that because there's usually a click between parts. So why would I use faceplant for this? It depends, I guess. For me personally, I find that I have more control and integration over faceplant, and also the workflow is much quicker. So like I had to go out of this and then pull up something else and then pull up something else, where when I'm working in faceplant, like the speed of that, of recreating this, is lightning fast. So I can literally just go, you know, boom, go here, go there, go there, go freaking this way. Like pulling stuff up is so much quicker in a lot of ways than the amount of time that it took me to do things in just Bitwig. The workflow of faceplant is lightning fast, as you can tell. Boom, distortion, boom. Here we go. Grab another one. Here, boom. Filter that. Great. We go here, we go to multipass. We go here, we go to stereo. We go here, we go to chorus. Spread, mix, something like that. Then we go here, boom, limiter. Pull up another preset from multipass. Go here, go into the thing that we were using from earlier, which is, oh, that's faceplant, my bad. Go to this one, go kind of OTT. And then pretty much to some degree, like that was what, 30 seconds, a minute tops. Oh man. Oh, okay, we're okay. So we've already kind of just done the same thing, but in a fraction of the time. That took no time whatsoever. I did forget a few things, but even still. And it could just be that like I'm just so used to doing this so many times. But again, like I said, the speed and the workflow of this is just unparalleled. So, I mean, what else can I say? But also, like, there are some things that are unique within multipass and faceplant and all that, and then like the ability to kind of like just set things up. Oh, So one thing that is a lot more efficient in Faceplant than compared to Bitwig is that these can be sent out to modulate like you can use a few randomizers to modulate just a few things, whereas if you were going to try to do the same thing in Bitwig, you'd have to be very meticulous with it. So like you would have to group this first of all, and to try to get like only 3 randomizers to do a bunch of different things, you would have to put this into a group, and then you would have to kind of throw everything within this, and then start to kind of like try to use these same modulators or whatever. And it's not that big of a deal by any means, but it's just something to be mindful of whenever you start to mess with stuff like this. And then you would have to kind of come in and, you know, do whatever it is that you want to do in order to do that. And that's just an extra step that you have to set up. Not to say that you can't, but, you know, just be mindful of that. Whereas with Faceplant, it's already like integrated, and a lot of times I end up like randomizing everything with its own randomizer in Bitwig, as opposed to just having a few ones like all kind of like work in sync together. And if you're going to do generative stuff, like I find that having a few randomizers to automate multiple things, as opposed to like the ratio of having individual randomizers on every single little thing, works out a lot better from the prior. So yeah, that's kind of how you can make some cool Reese sounds both in Faceplant and in Bitwig. I think I have time for probably one more sound design question if you guys want me to try to troubleshoot anything. I've got about 25 minutes left, so if there's something that you guys want me to cover, then I'm still here. Oh right, I was designing a kick. Lol. Like what kind of effects? You mean like, if you guys have already been here, don't spoil it. You mean effects like this? Stuff like that? Or do you mean like soundscapes? Like the mooscape? This is great. Transitional stuff? Okay. So, the way that I've been making... Do you guys want to see the easy transition, or do you guys want to see like a power up transition? Impacts? Impact. Dun 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 dun. I love that tune. So I'll explain the gist of impacts, but kind of risers and all that stuff is actually the same thing. It's just one of them can be reversed and one of them is played straight. But Sunk from glitch.cool, I think. Is it Sunk? Has some sick impacts. Impact. Who is it? Yeah, it is Sunk. All right, so Sunk is from the glitch.cool community, and he's a freaking genius, but he's got some sick shit. So impacts like this kind of have like a 3-part thing to them, and I'm not going to synthesize one right now because what I'm going to explain here in a second is going to kind of cover that. But basically you have 3 parts. You have the reverse part, you have the hit, and then you have the tail. So when you're sound designing one really quickly, like what I would suggest is taking a kick and adding a bunch of reverb to it, and that will kind of serve as like the base of the kick or whatever. And most of the time, like for an impact, it is some kind of kick by all means. Like usually either that or it's like a bass hit with a pitch envelope, right? But then you just layer that with some kind of textural thing. So like you can take something from my free pack, like Abhorrent Mech, and you can layer any of this technical stuff over here. Anything like that. If we kind of zoom out of this really quick, I think that it should work, but I recently kind of have redone my my logos and my intros and stuff. But this might be cool, interesting to you guys. And the reason why I'm going to pull it up is because I've already kind of synthesized everything here. But if you look at this on Final Cut, did I lose everything? No. If we play this right here, can you guys hear this? Okay. So it's not quite impacty, I guess, so to speak. But if you look at this compound clip, then it's basically three of those Abhorrent Mech things that I have, but just layered together. And it's really, that's just kind of what creating like a cool impact is just finding some kind of stuff like that. And that's kind of how that works. So all that stuff that I just showed you of the cool like textures and stuff or whatever that I was just doing, that would be the first part, right? It's getting some kind of sounds kind of like that in some way or another. So you can bounce out something like this. And then just add a boom to it. So, and then there's a huge impact. All right. So, with that being said, let's talk about how I do transitional effects. So the hard way that I do this is actually, let's go ahead, not the hard way, but the complicated way or the power up way is I'll bounce out something kind of like this. So I'm just going to take, I don't have the time to be picky with this, but I'll take something from the Moobrid. And we'll come over here and bounce something out kind of like this. Okay, hopefully something like that will be useful. So what you do from here is you take something of this nature. And if you don't have access to these sounds, then what you can actually do to get some cool stuff is just take a drum loop and stretch it out to hell. So like here's an easy drum loop right here. That sounds like this. Let me turn this back on. And you stretch it out. And then you set this to like a different warp mode. So sometimes going into the slice mode and putting this on like ping pong or granular can be useful. So you get these like cool little chops like that. And when you do this, trust me, it's not going to matter that much. So you grab the sample and you throw this into a sampler like this. And what we want to do is find a loop right here, kind of like this of some degree. Hi, dogs. So that might be kind of cool if we play that at a really low pitch. Okay, and then what we'll do is we'll set this to bounce back and forth. Maybe we'll just play the first part of this and then find a cue point right here to kind of keep in between, kind of like this. There we go. And so all we have to do from here is start from a really low pitch or like bounce out a note. And it depends on how long you want to make your transition effect. but you start from really low, so you go into the pitch here. You can also go into the speed as well if you don't want to manipulate the pitch, and sometimes you'll end up getting some different results. But all you do is you start from here, and then you have this serve as a riser. And let's just listen to how this sounds. And that's not bad. Okay, I want this to go sooner though, because I want it to start seeming like it's going to loop faster, because that's what's going to make it sound like it's a machine or like a power-up. Maybe not so low. So that's part of it, is just kind of finding a sweet spot. And then we'll have to come in here and find a different loop point. Let's say like right there. There we go. And then that can power up like really high, and then we can just slam it back down to make it slow down. So something like that. Once we have that, then from there on it's kind of smooth sailing, because we've kind of created the initial movement, and we can kind of just have some fun with it now and just make it loud, turn it mechanical with a pitch shifter of some sort. As you can tell, like I really like these things, and setting this to automation can be a lot of fun. So let's try from like here and pull the grain size down by quite a bit, something like that. And then let's try to maybe go here and turn the pitch all the way down. Pitch, please. Ugh, God, it's so hard to drag. Jesus. Oh yeah, I can just double click. I forgot. Okay. A little bit more maybe. There's something about this deep low frequency reverb that I don't get to work. What do you mean? If I'm going to do reverb on it, then most of the time I would just power it up as kind of like what, I guess that's a good term that we can kind of use, because that's kind of what it sounds like, right? Maybe I would either start from reverb and go dry, or start from dry and go reverb and then close it at the end, but let's just, for the sake of, you can do it that way. You can also do it the opposite way. Hold on, just for you guys. Sometimes that can be helpful. That was about the impacts? Oh, but there is something about this deep, low frequency reverb that I don't get to work. Okay, so like if you're trying to get that to go, just create the reverb on a kick. That will probably work best. Let me pull this to a new thing. Sorry, I can't always tell like what is happening, but you have the reverb on here, but the only thing that you need to make sure of is to just make sure that the low end stays in mono. And then there you go. And if you want this to kind of sound more like a low-key impact, then what you do is you just pull the top in from that. So that way you just have like a sub reverb. And then there's kind of your explosion, or there's like your like, oh shit, something's getting ready to happen. But that's all there really is to it, if you want this to have like a lot of reverb on that. Hello, how do you write lead and bass melodies and experiment while staying in key? And at what point do I decide which key I will keep going in the composition process? So I write in F. Every tune I write in F, pretty much. And I guess the best way that I can show you that, because that's a really hard question to answer in a short amount of time, is to just show you an example of like an old tune. I don't write melodies anymore, and I don't write composition. Oh, by the way, did that answer your question on how to create transitional effects? Are we good with this? Like, you have plenty to play with this, right? You can also like do filters and all that if you want to kind of sweep or like create more movement. But basically, you're just creating motion within like a specific amount of time, and it doesn't matter what the source sound is. Just change the pitch over time as like one of your main things, make it go up, and then you can kind of just do automation that follows the pitch. So, oh, that was supposed to be with that, so. Something of that nature. Okay, so I will play an old tune for you that I made in 2018. It was from my old EP, or from my very first EP that I released. It's called My Beloved. The reason why we're going to play this one is because it is my favorite. Well, I like all of these songs quite a bit, so I can't really say, but I like to refer to this one quite a bit. So I'm just going to play the main section. And that sounds like this. So on the first part, I have a lot of bass hits that has a small melody, and then on this part, I'm accentuating the melody in itself. So I keep them relatively separate because they can't play over each other if you want a heaviness in your tune. So yeah, so basically like whenever, damn it. So you, in essence, you want to, if you have like really heavy bass tonalities, like you're not going to be able to fit really heavy melodies on top of it because they're going to be fighting for each other. And what I've come to realize, Man from Soul just put up a video on it, and it was a great kind of like awareness thing of being like, oh man, that's right, is that anytime there's melody in a tune, you're always going to direct your attention towards the melody. Like, it's just how we're built. And so if you really want to make the most out of like heaviness of your basses, or make that sound like the most upfront, you can't play them at the same time. They just won't fit. You're going to have to sacrifice quite a bit. And so like the music that I'm writing now is pretty much relatively atonal, because I want to make my synths and my effects and stuff that I'm making, as we did today, as powerful and as upfront in the mix as possible. And so within this stuff, like my goal, I don't know how complex that sounds to you guys or not, but there's not very many tracks within this tune. So instead, what I've tried to prioritize is just making all of the sound design and stuff within here as big and as full and rich as possible. So that way I don't have to have like a billion different layers under this in order to make it sound more full. And the fact that we have the ability to do like complex processing chains, even like this, you know, can be quite a bit. That allows us to do super crazy like loud processing to our sounds, and we can just use that. And when you start to combine that with different elements that already incorporate a lot of movement within it, such as the stuff that we did today, kind of like this, right? Oi. Oh. Like this stuff, like this doesn't need layering. That's totally strong enough to stand on its own, and to me it's interesting enough to play on its own. So you just put, like, you know, a heavy kick and a heavy snare over that, and you find a nice cut, and you just go and then let something else play with some rhythm or whatever. Does that make sense to you, Sphinx? I don't suspect that's the question, or that's the answer that you were looking for, but that's kind of how I go about doing things like that, because I don't really write melodic electronic music. I do write symphonic music. But I keep them separate, to be honest. So if I'm going to do something that's melodically focused, then I'll just do like piano, or I'll do strings, which is, I still enjoy doing that, and I do have somewhat of an affinity to writing tunes in that manner. But as far as marrying the two, I don't do that. I mean, one other thing that you can do, like if you're into glitch hop or something, is to honestly just bounce out a bunch of chords and synths. So like if you have something that's like, what is this? Okay, so if you bounce out something like that, and then you go to like a new preset or whatever, so it can be anything. Okay, that's a chord. So you bounce out that in the key that you've chosen. So I always make everything in F. Then what you do is you create a chord and a different sound in F. That's not an F, but it still sounds good. You bounce that out, and then you go to another preset of, oh crap, you go to another preset of something of the sort. You bounce out the same chord or a different chord. What? Okay. And once you have a collection of different samples like this, then you just create a riff with it. And you kind of just try to play something rhythmically. So let me try to see if I can find something in like F or whatever. F chord. Cool. That sounds kind of housey. So you can have, from here you start phrasing. A sharp. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That should be an F now. Okay, and then we can also take some of the original idea of this, of here into, oh shit. Everyone answers in a different way, which gives me new perspectives every time. That always helps. Okay, yeah, for sure. So what you would do, let's say you have like a few different samples, right, is you try to match all of these in the same way with equal loudness. And one way that you can achieve that is by like compressing the hell out of everything so that it's like super flat. And that's why a lot of electronic music has so much compression on it. So that way, like, you can take a lot of random ideas and not worry so much about it not fitting together. Sorry, a better way to say that is you control the dynamics. But one thing that you can start to kind of play with is, again, like I said, just phrasing. That doesn't sound like that's an A minor, but dun dun dun. Then I would probably have these kind of be like the same, how do I say, kind of same, I guess like attack and release, I guess. So we've created this riff with some melodic stuff. This would kind of give off to like a a garage type feel for me. And so what you can do is you play basses or bass riffs or whatever within the spaces. So Now let's find a bass, and this is like a really bad example, so don't expect this to sound good. But just as far as being practical with it, you can C, B, A sharp. I still have to do this. A, G sharp, G, F sharp. Yeah, okay, that's funny. And you could start to play with this relationship of bouncing everything off in between. And then like you can make a phrase kind of like this, play that twice, and then on the third time that you do that, you change up the rhythm. So you can kind of place a different bass kind of like right there. So now you've got this cool like call and response thing, and then you can go back to the beginning of that. And just copy that. Wait, my bad. Copy. Okay. And then like let's say you take like even just a crappy drum loop like this. And you make this really short, and then you duplicate this to find that snare, wherever that is. This is like gonna turn into a rock beat or something. That'd be pretty funny. And then you have some kind of shuffle, like 128 hats. Let's see if there's anything here that's interesting. Something like that. That is not cool. That might be interesting. This would take me a lot longer to make it sound cool, but basically you can kind of get the idea about like how to create the interrelationship between these. And if everything is pulled back by quite a bit, then you can layer under that and you can play the stuff. But if you want everything to have just as much impact, then you have to make space for it. Another question, say you record or hear a specific sound you want to synthesize instead of just packing samples with effects. What is my quickest way of rebuilding the sound? Say I record or I hear a specific sound I want to synthesize instead of just packing the sample with effects. Sorry, can you rephrase? I'm not sure I understand. I'm just working on dumb stuff while I wait for you to answer that question. That might be why that was so loud. I guess the fastest way from brain to real sound by synthesis. So the fastest way to get something from your head into the DAW is for one to act on inspiration. So that's part of it. Let's say you find a cool sound maybe by someone else and don't want to use the sample but rebuild the sound by a synthesizer. What's your quick and dirty way? Oh my gosh. That is such a loaded question. It depends on the sound. You have to, so like it depends because that is going to be dependent on your experience with sound design. That's going to depend on your expectations of how close you need to be towards getting the sound. It's going to depend on what tools you have available and what your knowledge base is, and then also what kind of reference you have of like just having an overall like knowledge base, right? So if somebody was like, how do I make, like a neural base like XYZ, like I might not have any idea. And, that could be something to tackle. But 9 times out of 10, most of the time, well, depending on the genre, oh God, this is so subjective. Most of the time, sounds have a specific fundamental waveform. And that comes from pretty much, if you look at an analog, we basically have a saw, a square, a triangle, and a sine wave, and then also you have white noise. So stuff that's synthesized, for the most part, usually comes from one of those waveforms to some degree. So if you hear something and you're able to identify a fundamental of the waveform, that's where you start. And then depending on what you're wanting to do with it, you have to understand what goes into the sound design. If you're going to make a pad, then you understand that like pads generally have space, right? So you would use something like reverb to make it wide. If you're going to make something like a bass, then you would probably reach for something like distortion. And so like understanding the role or the relationship of what the sound is in a song is kind of what you would start designing. I can't believe I answered that, but that's what I would go for. So like if you hear a bass and you want to recreate it, well then you need to start making a sound that fits the role of the bass. If you hear something that's a pad, then you need to start reaching in that direction. If you hear something that's percussive, then you need to reach for something that's going to be building around transients. And that's kind of like the closest that you can get depending on what you hear, because there's a billion different ways to get to the same sound. And there's also like, an infinite amount of sonic possibilities that are there. If you have no idea what to do about sound design or whatever, then I would say instead of trying to recreate a sound, I'd be more concerned with learning your tools, of being like really understanding what a saturator does, of really understanding what a distortion module does, really understanding what you can do with compression, XYZ, and taking the time to learn your synths, because the more practice that you have with that, the more easy this will become to kind of create those sounds. Like earlier, I don't know if you were here or not, but somebody had me recreate this sound, and it wasn't exact or whatever, but somebody had me recreate a respace sound, and they were like, how do I make it? And I was like, I don't know, but here's how you can get close. And then somebody posed the question, I wonder if you can do that in Bitwig, and then I remade the exact same sound within Bitwig. For one, I've been doing this kind of sound since I've started sound design in the first place, and two, like, I have at least, I'm not going to say I'm an expert on this, but I have somewhat of a fundamental understanding about what goes into making a particular sound in general. And as you practice and as you work on your craft, you're going to recognize certain characteristics of that sound. For example, if you like donks or whatever, you're going to know that's a filter closing with an envelope, and you're already going to know how to reach for that. It's kind of like familiarizing yourself with conventional sounds in the electronic world. I made an example on this with some kind of lecture that I had of like, when we're really young, we have that spinner thing that you push on top, and it's like the cow goes moo, or the sheep goes bah, or if somebody's like, what does a taxi sound like, or what does a car sound like, you kind of make that sound because you've been around it, you are able to recognize it. In the same way, or in a similar way rather, when you start doing sound design, it becomes a similar process of like knowing what the root is, right? And that's kind of like a quick and easy way that you can start to think of that, but that has to come with time. Like you can't, there's no shortcut. There are zero shortcuts to sound design. I guess you can technically say like, you can borrow from sample packs and stuff, but if you're doing something by scratch, like there really aren't any shortcuts. I would love to know how the bass of The Way of Home by Magic Sword right at the start is rated to so aggressive sounding. We can do that the next time I hop on stream, but I'm going to have to go here like now. But the next time, if you remind me, then I'll troubleshoot that, okay, and I'll take a look at it. But yeah, hopefully that answered your question. I'm sorry there's no magic formula to that. I wish there were, because I would be selling that for, that would be like if I were teaching martial arts and I knew how to throw fireballs, I would sell that for millions. Here's the secret. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, hopefully that was helpful to you. And for all of you guys that were hanging with me today, thank you so much for joining me with this kind of sonic sound design session. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy like hanging out with people and just talking about geeky things. But yeah, I gotta go. I gotta get into class. But much love to you all. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I will most likely be on tomorrow. If you haven't, go check out the newest video that I put up of how to become aware of mixing stuff. If you have any mixing questions, it's not going to tell you how to mix. It's going to teach you how to be aware of your mix. And if you guys want to support the channel, then you can either purchase something off alckemy.com or you can become a member. Hive, thank you so much for becoming a member today. I really appreciate that. And remember that for the $5 tiers, if you ever find yourself wanting feedback, you get to skip the line. As of now, I'm trying to do feedback on like Wednesdays and maybe Fridays, sort of, but it might change. So just keep that in mind. And then also in the description, there's a Discord link. So yeah, just be a part of the community. Just be a part of us. We have a really awesome community going on. So that's my advertisement, and that's my lesson for today. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I will see you some other time.